Welcome to another episode of the Southern Boating and Yachting Podcast. I'm Ian Sneed.
I'm James Anderson.
And today we're going to be talking to you about some boat owners and their experience in upgrading to a larger size, and then the adventure that they chose to take immediately after they received their vessel. It's a fantastic story. It's from our July issue, right?
Correct.
If you want to get more of the details. But we actually want to talk about this because the story is fantastic.
I love this story.
The story is great, but the vessel itself is also impressive, as is the company, and there's some history behind that as well. So why don't we get into it? Before we start, though, remember to click the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and leave us a thumbs up, give us a little like, so that we know that you're enjoying the content. And with that, James, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the story called Never Home. And I love this issue because I'm many times accused of never home.
Right, yeah.
I'd like to live the lifestyle a little bit more like these guys are. But,
I know, this really
husband
was...
and wife team, really, not guys. This is a couple from Florida, Atilio and Kathy Siqueira, right? I hope I pronounced that properly.
I'm impressed with how you pronounced it. So
I think
it's Brazilian though, so I can't help.
I got you.
Yeah.
They upgraded their boat back in 2022, or started the process, upgrading from a Grady White 330 Express, right? They were at the Miami Boat Show in 2022,
Right.
So February of 2022, they discovered the Back Cove 390,
Yeah.
right? And pretty much decided right then and there that that was going to be the boat for them.
Yeah, they walked on. They're like, I like it. Do you like it? I like it. Then let's get it.
Didn't even do a sea trial,
Right.
And just decided to go ahead and move forward with the purchase of the boat, right?
I can guarantee there's more manufacturers that are like, I want more people like that. Come visit us, right?
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you don't hear that too often, but wow, okay, great for you, good for you.
It speaks highly of them as owners. They know what they wanted to do to begin with, right? They knew why they were upgrading. They knew what they were looking for. And they recognized it when they saw it instead of hemming and hawing, right? And so it speaks highly of them as owners. They know they have experience as boaters.
Right.
Yeah.
Good way to put it. So 18 months later, they finally received the boat, right? And normal people, I shouldn't say normal people, but most people, they had the boat for a little while. They worked through a couple of kinks and experiences and, personalizing the boat. Not these two. I mean, they set off on the ultimate journey of doing the Great Loop pretty much right away.
Right.
A 6,000-mile journey around the East Coast and then down through the Mississippi, the Great Loop. Number one, it's something that we've talked about before. I'm dying to do a Great Loop trip, or even just segments of it.
And the cool part is that they even took a little detour off of the Great Loop, right? Went up into Canada, which we're going to talk about because there's a really cool piece of information about that part of their story that we definitely want to touch on. But they even added that to their Great Loop story, which I think is awesome. Yeah, they're adventurous.
Extremely adventurous, right? Which is awesome. What's really interesting is getting into why they chose the Back Cove for this adventure, right? So we touched on it already a little bit, but they highlighted some things that really brought them to the purchasing table,
right?
And I noted that from Kathy, she had some features that she mentions in the article that she really liked.
I know one of the things that she liked was the galley and the placement of the galley.
Yeah, so the placement of the galley, right? She liked the dual fridge drawers,
yes,
right? Which
that's
was
right.
AC DC power split.
Yeah. There was storage, a massive amount of storage in the galley as well, right? Where they keep extra things. Wasn't that right?
No, that's going to be a little bit different. So they talked about in the story, because it's not an inboard, it has outboards.
Right.
Is that they get the extra storage under the cockpit.
That's what it
was. To where they kept an inflatable with an electric 3 horsepower outboard and a set of electric bikes.
That's right.
Right, to do some exploring on land.
Right.
Right. But they also liked the convection oven, convection microwave oven that's underneath the counter. So it's got a nice spot. It's not just hanging out somewhere. It's nice and hidden.
I remember she liked the forward cabin with the walk-around queen berth.
Yes.
So it's easier to make the bed, right? The placement of that was very convenient for her. So I remember that was another feature that she enjoyed.
Didn't have to shimmy down to the foot of the bed to get out of bed.
Right.
Right. They also talk about the woodwork that's in the owner's suite and how nice it is. And I always feel like when I step on board a Back Cove or a Sabre, one of the big things is that woodwork.
Yeah.
Right. It is very impressive to see that amount of wood, the quality of the wood, and the finish that they put on it is absolutely stunning. It really makes this boat look very elegant, very classic. I can never get enough of them. But then let's talk a little bit about Back Cove. So Back Cove was founded in 2003. It is a sister company to Sabre Yachts. Sabre has a great history from competition, sailing, just about everything, right? They build incredible boats. They got to actually, while their boat was being made, go tour the facility. And Attilio talks about how unbelievable their facility is. They have a huge facility in Maine. And Maine has a great history, a very storied history of boat building, right? We've got other boat builders like Hinckley that build in Maine and a couple of others, so it's profound. I mean, you always hear about Maine boat builders or built in Maine, right? Back Cove uses it, and so does Sabre use it, sister companies, obviously, in their advertising. But when they toured the facility, one of the things that he mentioned is how large the woodworking shop section was. Right? And how that led to such a perfect fit and finish on these boats. And after I've been on board many of these, and so have you, it is very evident when you step on board one of them. Just like the quality is taken to another level that is far superior to most.
It's not just attention to detail, it's attention to perfection. Like, that's the best way I could describe it. When you look at the woodwork on a vessel of a Back Cove or a Sabre, you can tell it's not just attention to detail, it's to perfection.
They try to perfect it as much as they can possibly do.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is some of the very first Back Coves that came out were single diesel inboards. Back Cove switched to outboards with the 340 model, and then in the 390 they have two options of power, right? They had the triple V10 400s via Mercury or the twin V12 600s from Mercury. This couple opted for the triple power option, and he mentions that it's plenty of power.
Right.
In fact, he received cruising speeds between 25 and 26 knots.
Right.
With a top speed of about 45 knots, maybe a little more. Right. Which allowed him to actually get out of the way of inbound weather and so forth, which is very, very smart.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing that he highlighted that we touched base on already a little bit is, since they're outboards, he can trim them up and get into some seriously shallow water.
Yes.
And the part that he talks about getting into shallow water when he's in Canada and going up towards Quebec in the canals.
Yeah.
He calls it skinny water.
Right.
Right.
When I read the numbers, I sat there like, you did what? I'm like, wild.
So he says that he gets into about 2 feet 7 inches of water.
Yeah.
And the Back Cove 390 has a draft of 2 feet 4 inches roughly. Right. So he's got like 3 inches to spare, maybe.
Right. It blew my mind. I'm like, he's a bold captain.
But that's a great way to illustrate that because it's outboards, you can do things like this by trimming up those mortars where you cannot do that with an inboard necessarily.
Right.
And that would make it great for other destinations like the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
You can get into those shallows and really enjoy some unique spots that you can't with other vessels.
Right. And the Back Cove has some great technology, like on top of everything, on top of like the layout, on top of how they're, creating the ability to have the 360 view from the helm, the open air in the head, right? Like, there's different elements where it's like the comfort is seriously there, not just to enjoy the outdoors, but to close yourself off from the outdoors if there's like foul weather coming about. And they still have, I think, what was it, 4 Dometic air conditioning, right?
Dometic air conditioning.
Yeah, and they also have joystick control. So it's just like everything about the vessel is for the owner-operator.
Very feature-rich.
Absolutely.
And that's a great thing. So one of the things that they did highlight is that they truly enjoyed the private access to the head from the owner suite, right? And that's lovely. One of the things that I note on this is that it does have a hatch in the head. So when you're taking a shower, if it happens to be a super hot shower, or you can pop the hatch and all the steam goes straight up, right?
Oh.
So it evacuates the steam almost right away, right? But also it has the 2 portholes in the window and the head, which allows you to get some really good cross ventilation with the hatch open, opening up to more free air,
Yes.
right? And especially when you're up north, that fresh air is amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And then they also, one thing that they really liked was the guest cabin, right?
So they mentioned the double berths and the guest, and why they liked it, because they had guests come along on their trip at certain points of their trip that they would come spend a week with them, and that's really nice because you want to enjoy this boat with your friends. That's the whole purpose.
Oh, absolutely. This vessel is made to get you out in nature, but also protect you from nature when nature is, throwing a little fit. But also, whether you want privacy with, your family or you want to entertain with your friends, it gives you all of that. The versatility of the vessel it's almost like a feature that doesn't get sold enough, in my opinion. Like, it's something that everyone should really kind of look at. The amount of versatility that this vessel has in usage, in technology, in layout, like, it's incredible.
Correct. I think this boat is more versatile than most people ever think. When they look at it, they see it as a classic, elegant boat.
Right.
And it can be rugged. It can be, your go-to cruiser.
Yeah.
It can be your weekend boat.
Yeah.
It can be so much for you because it is so versatile. And with the outboards, it just made it even more versatile.
Absolutely.
So, which is excellent. Now, the one thing I do want to note for everybody is, and we do need to touch upon it, and we touch upon it in the article, is that they didn't just take delivery of this boat and then set off. The entire 18 months that they were awaiting delivery of their boat, they were planning this trip.
Oh, yes.
Where to go, what to stop, what to see, and a timeline and everything. So, and who was going to be the guest of that week and so forth. So they put a lot of planning into this, just like anybody does that does the Great Loop. So if anybody's thinking that you can just hop on and go do the Great Loop, not quite.
It's a good disclaimer. That's a very good disclaimer.
Right.
But that's also why we put so many resources into our magazine, is because we want people to have what they need to plan when they decide to go on a trip like this one. The amount of different sections of the Great Loop that we've covered, the amount of resources that even our galley articles have on, like, how to cook on your vessel. Everything that we do is focused on helping you have the type of experience that this couple had.
It's we're setting the boating lifestyle.
Exactly.
Right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much more about this story that we can cover. I do highly suggest, if you haven't read it, go read it. It is a great story. It's one of my favorite this past year. I think it's unbelievable what this couple did. It's one of my favorite brands that I've always said. I've got a handful of them, and this is one of them.
Absolutely. And before we sign off, if you're thinking about traveling the Great Loop, leave a comment and let us know what vessel you think would be perfect for your trip on the Great Loop.
Until next week, I'm James Anderson.
I'm Ian Sneed.
See you next time. Right?
That's right.
But Back Cove, excuse me. You can edit that out.
Yeah, I will. But this section will be in the bloopers.
That's pretty fine. Yeah. You can just let it roll anyways. But anyways,